Let's go. Andrew Ossola, how are you doing today?
Kourosh, I am doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great as well. It's
That's good.
August 9th, 2019, and you're in Utah.
I am. So, do you
What
want
do
me
you
to
do?
do that?
What? Yeah, what do you do for work?
Yeah, so I just graduated in personal financial planning from Utah Valley University, and I got a job at E-Trade. So right now I'm doing customer service, but the goal is to move into the employee stock purchase plan. And one of the coolest things about that is we manage the stock purchase plans for 25% of the S&P. So some of our biggest clients are Apple and Facebook and Tesla. So if you get into that group, you're working with, I mean, the guy from Chicago that I'm sitting next to had a conversation with Tim Cook 2 weeks ago. So it would be a cool department to get into, but something I'm going to work towards.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. Wait, is
Yeah.
but is that team based in Utah as well?
So there is stock purchase plan teams based in Utah. However, they don't run the Apple account. They run the Tesla account out of Utah, and the Apple account's out of Chicago.
So different groups run different accounts.
That's right. Yeah, there's a bunch of different teams. Not a bunch, but 4 or 5 different teams of anywhere from 5 to 10 guys that essentially run that whole thing. So whenever an Apple insider decides, oh, the lockup period's over, we want to purchase some company shares and or sell shares, then they go through us. They contact us for basically the broker for them who facilitates that transaction and kind of manages the situation from there going forward.
Are you the only people that handle their financials, or do other financial companies handle any of that?
So I mean, these guys are well diversified. They have holdings advisors. Every person has their own advisor, probably. They've got a ton of investment companies doing different things for them. Apple has twice as much free cash flow as anybody else on earth, and I think it's somewhere in the ballpark of $300 billion just to spend whenever. So that money gets moved around quite a bit to different money managers. But however, as from a corporate standpoint, if you were at Qualcomm and let's say you had the option to purchase Qualcomm shares, you would initiate that if you were Apple through us.
Oh, okay.
Do
Got
you see
it.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yeah. So that's our bread and butter right now, and that's something that I'm going to work towards, and I think I have a good track there too with my background.
25% of the S&P 500, that's huge.
Yeah, so 25% of basically the largest companies in the world.
Who's E-Trade's biggest competitors?
PD Ameritrade's number one, but realistically, we've kind of focused in on that area. We focus obviously on retail brokerage as well, and we want to facilitate the retail public in trading and with their brokerages and whatever retirement accounts they want to hold. We do have financial advisors, but as far as that goes, it's yeah, that's something that we're pretty exclusive about is that stock purchase plan.
Well, that's a good goal towards going towards, and you'd probably be surrounded by like really, really people who know their shit, who really.
Oh, absolutely. I actually this whole week I was sitting next to the new hire manager for the stock purchase plan for Chicago. So he's going to be direct contact with Apple employees constantly. He just moved over from Merrill Lynch. He was managing a book of $500 million, and he took this job instead. So that gives you an idea of what the upgrade might have been. But yeah, we've been talking all week. He's very knowledgeable. He's taught me a lot just talking to him, and we've had some good chats about the NFL and the Bears and the outlook for this season. So that's fun. But he's an extremely smart guy, and I'm really glad I've gotten to meet him. I'll get to hang out with him again next week before he heads back to Chicago for good. But one of those guys that you're very impressed by, and he is as well versed as anyone when it comes to markets.
Nice. So, what do you think is really important when it comes to markets and important to look out for?
Yeah. In what specific sense? Do you want me to just give you a general synopsis, maybe for?
Yes.
Okay, so I would say that some of the biggest things to look out for, and especially right now, is what I'll call the bull trap, where the media will come out and tell you stock market's at all-time highs, you should invest. This company's not doing as well, so just invest in them. But the reality is, this year everyone lowered their guidance, which was their projection of future earnings, and those projections have been decreased anywhere from 25% to about 50% of what they were last year. Now, the weird effect of that is the stock prices haven't really changed, but the companies are not reporting as much revenue. And so we're in a kind of a weird situation where every single company you try to buy is overbought, at least one that has a long-term vision and value to it. And so trying to balance out what companies are worthwhile and which ones aren't at this point is a really tough game because we are at the peak of Everest when it comes to the stock market. It's never been this high. And so the biggest precaution I would have for anyone, and I would recommend to anyone, is be skeptical a little bit right now. Invest just in case there's some more to go, but make sure you have proper savings so that when that market does come back, you're ready to buy that fire sale and you're ready to enter the market at a point that a lot of people weren't able to.
Yeah, I've and that's in the financial market. And just does that go across the financial, like towards like the real estate market, or do you just mostly observe the financial market?
I'm really observant of the financial market. There is some overlap, especially when you talk about interest rates. So recently, Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, came out under pressure from tweets from Donald Trump, which is one of the most miraculous situations I think I've ever seen. Someone being able to tweet and move the largest economy in the world on a tweet. I mean, that's some crazy stuff right there.
Dude, that's nuts.
Yeah, so he's been doing that for a long time, but
What's
what was
this
I saying?
guy's
Oh,
name?
real estate. So, well, that's Donald Trump's the one who's tweeting and moving markets right now. I mean, when
And
he sends out a tweet about China, the markets are moving up or down based on that tweet.
oh, geez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he needs to really, really watch what he's doing, and I'm very concerned about his general demeanor and what that could do for our markets around here. But back to the whole real estate correlation, the one thing that I do have some knowledge of with real estate is interest rates. I mean, they're completely correlative, and they're correlative to banks as well, because what do you get a house with? You buy a house with a loan from a bank generally, and that loan comes with an interest rate. What is that interest rate? It's generally determined by the Federal Reserve Board, or better yet, the Federal Open Market Committee, and that's the group that decides how much money we're going to produce and print for the upcoming year to be loaned to consumers and how cheap that money will be loaned at. And so right now we just recently in the last 2 weeks had an interest rate cut of 25.25% after lowering. I mean, we were only at like 4% at that point, maybe 3.75. And so lowering that in a really high market is going to be interesting because it's never been done before. But we will see some real estate impact as a result. I think it's actually something that might be positive for real estate, but we'll see depending on, it really comes down to the wealth of the people and the credit of the people. And those are two very concerning parts of the nation right now, in my opinion.
In what sense? If people don't have good credit and are heavily invested in the market, they're just gonna falter.
I think it's more about the student debt crisis and the debt crisis in general. We've never seen more consumer debt, we've never seen more auto debt, and we've never seen more student loan debt. The average student loan debt per person is around $60,000. And I know those of you in California are like, oh, that's a semester, right? but in the rest of the nation, that's I mean, that's a lot of money. And you do the math on that, you have to be making very good money to pay that off in a short amount of time. And that doesn't include the fact that you will accrue interest over time.
What do you think is gonna happen? Because that's something that a lot of, like, even Bernie Sanders on Joe Rogan spoke to that.
Yeah.
Did you listen to that at all?
I did not, but I heard about it. So if you want to give me a synopsis, I'd love to hear like the gist of what happened.
He's actually, this is very, you'll be interested in this. He said that he would want to have, if he were to be elected president, he would have a 10-year plan to completely wipe out all student debt for every single person at $2.2 trillion. And his plan for paying that would be to tax every transaction on the market at 0.05%. And he says that that could pay off the two.
Every single stock market trade at 0.05%.
I think so. I believe that was stock market trade.
That I'd have to run some numbers on that, but I can't imagine. I get why he's saying that because who's trading the most? The wealthiest. So what he's saying is let's move some money up there and bring it down to the middle class again, which makes sense in theory. But has he done the math on that? I don't know. I'm going to look into that though. That's an interesting thought. But the average consumer, and I mean, you and I investing in a 401k, that impacts us pretty heavily. Even though we're passive, that still impacts us quite a bit. And for someone like me, I trade a lot just for fun. And that would really damage me. I mean, it would be really, really tough for me to ever make it past certain thresholds at that point. So I'll look into that though, because I'm not totally against it. I'm all for the student loan reduction and forgiveness essentially. I think there's something there that we need to enable just because of the rate at which tuition has grown over the last 30 years, even inflation adjusted. It's absurd.
Dude, it is absurd how some tuitions are just crazy high.
Yeah.
And like you're just putting, and they're not necessarily completely, the education doesn't always correlate to the job that you're going to need to pay off that loan. So it's just a lot of people
Right.
are getting screwed over. A lot of young
Definitely.
people.
And yeah, young people and these are the people that have to drive the economy and society going forward, both from a technology, innovation, and an economic standpoint. And if we hinder them at a young age, statistics prove that the younger you start saving and the more money you have when you're younger, as long as you're not gambling that money away, you are going to end up with a lot more in the long run. Just the compounding effect of being in the market and investing in different things that provide income. And so if we eliminate that whole thing, I couldn't tell you what the landscape will look like in 30 years. I think that we will see a lot of different people working jobs that they necessarily didn't want to work in addition to their full-time job.
Really? Two
Yeah.
jobs.
Yeah, I think that there's a serious scenario where people with salaries, if they're not, I mean, not salaries necessarily, but lower end salaries, there's going to be a way they're going to have to do it. I mean, look at anyone with 60 grand of student loans. There's no way they get more than 15% of that paid off every year.
Yeah, seriously. And then the interest compounds on that. It's terrible.
Yep. And so then you look at it and you're like, okay, this wasn't a 10-year loan. This is becoming a 17-and-a-half-year loan based on the interest increase on the payments. And I know one of our good friends didn't realize that, and he wasn't paying down any of the principal. He was paying the interest. And so when his bill came around the next year, he's like, wait, how was it so much more expensive? And it's because there's an uneducated, and it's not like he's not a dumb guy, but it's just there's the financial literacy is very minimal in this country, and stuff like that we don't teach, nobody knows about. The resources are everywhere, but they're all saying a little bit of different things, so it's hard to figure out what is the right answer. And in my mind, that's who needs to be educated, because we don't want to see people end up in that situation and get really behind on these loans and not even realize it. They think they're paying their loan, but they're paying interest on their loan.
And it's crazy. And they do it for years and years and years without realizing it sometimes.
I read this book. It's actually a podcast. It's by Michael Lewis. He's the author of The Big Short and Moneyball. And he talks about, he started doing this podcast just this year in April. And he interviewed this girl. He kind of did 6 different sessions, and this girl was up to her neck in student loans. She just wanted to be a teacher in New York. Her wife and her have a son, or two sons, and they are up to their neck in debt right now. And they have been for 7.5 years since she graduated college. And she's like, wait, 7.5 years, I should have it was only $40,000 in debt. I should have that paid off by now. And the reality was the loan servicing agencies and I can send you some of the names of them later, like Navient is one of them. They misinformed many of their customers, or who were supposed to be their customers that were really their clients to make money off of. And nobody knew that. They thought that that was the fiduciary, and it wasn't. And so these people, girls like her, I mean, it's the most depressing thing to hear someone that was, wanted to be a teacher, wanted to change the world, and now is losing teeth because she's grinding her teeth for like so much so often that she's just losing teeth now. And this is someone who has just the strongest morals from what you can hear and just wants to do good by the world. But the system right now does not care about that because their goal is to find the next buck. And that's something that we really need to address if we want to create a better society going forward, or else we're going to be handcuffed by our finances and debt.
So what happens at that point though when like say we don't forgive people, quote unquote, and then people just rack this debt up for because like that woman's got to be in her 30s. Like I didn't realize some of these people are actually in their 30s and 40s with
Yeah.
just hundreds, like maybe tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. So like what do you think will end up happening with all that? Like where does that debt transfer to?
I think that there is a healthy solution. I don't think it's a full repayment, and I don't think it's not Elizabeth Warren's idea. We're like, here, forgiveness everyone, or Bernie Sanders' idea, forgiveness everyone. That's a little too extreme, and it's going to turn a lot of the moderate voters away because it's a little bit too liberal and social. And so, not that I completely disagree with that. I think it's a great idea, but I think that there is a limit that they can do it that would be acceptable, but then put people in a manageable situation where they can then find the right group of people. And this is where my company Warren comes in, that we're hoping to do is help people through these situations. And so I think that lowering the debt is good. I think eliminating it all completely is unfeasible. And so there needs to be some sort of geographical university and like an adjusted rate for how much people need off of their student loans, or maybe just their total student loans. And we take a percentage of that and we lower it and put people in a position where they feel like, okay, $17,000, I can do that. $50,000, I can't do that. You see what I'm saying? And it's a mind change. And when you inspire people to realize that they can take control of their life again, that motivates them to do so. And they'll find ways. They'll drive Uber. They'll find extra ways of making money. They'll save more money. And this is statistically proven that the closer you get to paying off your debt, the faster it pays off. And not from a monetary standpoint. Like people ramp up how much they pay off. And so that's what I would recommend is going forward. Is that's something we need to do, and maybe even an age-adjusted thing where the higher debt level, the higher your age, the greater break you get. We almost create this incentivized, not a tax structure, but like a student loan debt consolidation structure where we bracket people based off of income and debt levels, and we allocate percentages to them to lower those levels to reasonable amounts.
Oh yeah. I mean, if we take in their income and age into account, I mean, there could probably be some formula and
Absolutely.
we'll see. What do you think
Yeah.
about the current president? Would he would never implement something like that, Donald Trump?
No. And I'm going to be frank. I mean, he's clearly racist, and anyone who thinks otherwise is in denial because I had to turn off my Twitter feed from him because he was attacking the Baltimore mayor. And after 5 tweets, he turned the whole discussion from it's the problem with Baltimore and that mayor to Baltimore mayor is racist against me. And that's the most unfathomable thing to me. And I try to be neutral, but at this point, I'm losing neutrality just because of the outlandish things he does and says. And it's tough for me to hear. It really frustrates me on a consistent basis that that's the guy who's in charge of this great nation.
Yes, it's and do you think that anyone on the left or anyone on the DNC can do you have a favorite on the DNC?
They need to consolidate very quickly because right now, and I was just thinking, it's funny you're asking this. Literally, no more than an hour and a half ago, I was reading an article about how there's 24 Democratic candidates, and I know there's generally a lot when you're talking about primaries, but if they don't start consolidating soon, you're just going to confuse the voter base, and you're going to end up washing out a lot of people that would have voted for certain people that won't vote, and you're spreading yourself too thin, is what I'm saying. People need to come to a consensus on who the strongest candidates are in order to prevent another Trump presidency, because another Trump presidency is a scary thought.
Do you think it would affect the market? So do you think uh, any, well, probably not any, but say like Warren, Biden, or Sanders, do you think that, how do you think that would change the market versus Trump going forward for the next 4 years?
The stock market, you mean? Or like the
Yes.
real estate and stock market
See,
and
that's the
everything?
thing. I don't even know. Like, what is the market? Like, is that real estate and stock, or like, is there something? Is politics all obviously has to play some type of part? But I don't
Right.
know. I don't understand what these markets, other than stock market and maybe real estate, are.
So when I refer to the market, I'm talking about the S&P 500, so the
Okay.
500 largest companies, and then the Dow Jones Industrial, which is like the transportation, the industrial part, the really nitty gritty stuff that this economy runs on that we don't realize, the trains, the transportation, all that stuff. And then there's the Russell 2000, which is all the companies under $1 billion or up to $1 billion. That's called the small cap index. So the market is really this compilation of indexes that track specific types of stocks. So, like I said, S&P is the biggest ones. The Dow focuses on really big ones that are in stuff like Lowe's and Home Depot, transportation, all of the consumer. What do you call those? Not staples, but the disposable,
Infrastructure.
the infrastructure. Exactly. That's really what it is. Um, and the Russell is the small companies that grow into the great companies. At some point, every company was a small cap company, and so those are the major indexes. And when I say market, that's what I'm talking about. Is this compilation of probably a few thousand stocks in those indexes that make up the majority of where investing money goes.
Do you think that our markets are, those indexes are heavily impacted by global factors, or would you say that it's because it's so American? There's so many, the market is mostly American. I mean, there aren't too many international companies, are there? Besides maybe some UK and Canadians.
Yeah, rarely you see some. There's a couple of Chinese ones now. So a good example is like JD.com, if you've heard of them. Baidu is kind of the Google of China. They trade on the New York Stock Exchange. And then Alibaba, obviously you've heard of,
Yeah.
is another big one that trades in the U.S. Not just they trade in China and in the U.S. And and so it's not just domestic companies. There's some international companies, but they've got to be pretty big in order for the New York Stock Exchange to say, hey, come list with us, come trade out here. The way you invest in those other companies is you buy what we call an ADR. It's an American Depository Receipt. And effectively what that does is the bank will issue you shares out of Germany. So if you wanted Adidas shares, the bank would negotiate for a block of Adidas shares in the uh, German currencies, convert the currencies, and offer it to you as just Adidas stock as an ADR. And so they hold the stock, but you own the ADR, which is the beneficial rights of ownership to the stock.
And they is our government, or
Um, that's like banks, whether it's
okay,
an investment bank or a
like,
commercial bank, they can both
got it.
do it.
Like
Yeah,
Charles Schwab or something.
absolutely. Yeah, that's a great example of one.
Okay. Then what do you think about then this whole globalization effort versus a more isolated effort to keep, jobs? What do you think about globalization in the markets though, and our like relation with China? And do you think it's better to outsource a lot of, you know, costs, really transaction
Right.
costs, if then make them cheaper?
I think that there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it, and I think right now we're doing it the wrong way. Uh, I don't think it's fair for us to sit here and make a podcast like this and sit on with our beats and our nice microphones while there's thousands of people slaving away to build all of this for us. And and that just doesn't seem right to me. And so from that point, I'm kind of anti-globalization, but I also understand the economic implications of that, and they're pretty drastic if we don't find more technologically advanced solutions to replace that human labor, which I think we're moving in a direction that we can. It's just a matter of ethically and societally, can you impact someone like China enough to agree that, hey, human rights are an important issue. We need to address this. And I think once they do, that will force them into more creative solutions technologically. And I think we're moving into an era where we can find those solutions. And some growing pains to be had, but I think that down the road, and I had this thought today, I think 20 years down the road, I don't see why small communities can't produce the same materials that we're getting from China for the same price. We get the materials and we build it here using really cheap types of things, not necessarily labor, but machines and AI type technology.
Yeah, and optimize the timing and just the material use. I definitely think that's plausible. But
Absolutely.
did you mention earlier that you have a company?
Yeah, I do actually. So we're really small. We are Warren Financial Services or Warren Financial Corp. Soon to be just Warren once we get past Warren Buffett and Elizabeth Warren. But that was kind of the idea. We wanted to take advantage of a notable name, and we want to become a notable name. And so we said, hey, what two people show an interest in reducing debt and long-term value investing and saving? And both the Warrens do. So we're like, that's the perfect name for what we want to do. So what our real goal is to work with younger, basically recent graduates who have high income earning potential, STEM majors, future lawyers, but these people have lots of debt too. And so the first step is that debt reduction and creating a budget that's manageable where they can still have a good time, still accomplish things they want to accomplish for fun, but reasonably spend money and allocate their resources as effectively as possible. So Michael actually is doing coaching with our head of coaching right now. He's had a great time so far. I think he's getting a really good budget together right now in order to pay down a lot of that principal on his student loans as well.
Nice,
And
dude.
so yeah, and in addition to that, the second part of it is we want to create a totally new transparent market for the way that someone finds a financial advisor. There's plenty of people making a lot of money, and they're going to their dad's advisor, they're Googling someone, they're going to the random kid that they knew from college in their frat or whatever. And that's great. If you have a great relationship with those people, then absolutely take advantage of that. But a lot of people don't necessarily have that. Or if they do, it's someone they might not necessarily want to be with, but they don't really feel like there's somewhere else they can go. And so we want to create a marketplace for advisors, both young and old. The younger ones, we want to help them build a book of business using our pool of clients that are getting coached. Once they're done coaching, they're able to go into this marketplace and start investing with an advisor and the firm. And then the other portion of that is the young advisors get to build a client base, even if they're not worth a lot. But the older advisors find a lot of advantage in having younger clients that are unprofitable for one reason only, and that's the average age of their client and the average age of the advisor. And it's 53 for the advisor, and the client's average age is 58. And
Wow.
so if you have a spectrum of age and all the way to the right, I guess that, yeah, all the way to the right is, the end and the beginning is zero. Their bell curve is as hard to the right as it can be. And that's one of the things we want to do is move that over to the middle and create a lot more value for their book of business so that one day when they're 58 years old, they plan on retiring in the next, decade at least. And their book of business isn't worth a lot because their clients are old. So as they get older, guess what? Their clients are getting older, worth less and less. But if they have this stream of younger clients, those people are only gaining momentum to become those clients that they once had. And so we think we can create a marketplace for those people to come together and find the good fit that they were looking for.
Dude, that is a really very interesting idea. Definitely worth pursuing.
Yeah.
I heard So just on another Joe Rogan podcast, he was talking to this guy. He's where he said like there's going to be these companies that come out, these major companies, and they're going to have pretty much a bunch of smaller, like self-employed individuals who use them as their customer base. It's kind of like how a craftsman might use Amazon, and so that's kind of, or an Airbnb, renter might use Airbnb to rent out their room. And just like what
Right.
your app, Warren, or is it an app or it's a platform? So it'd be a website, an app, and everything. It's a
That's right.
company.
Yeah. 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 So right now we're building out the website first, just because of the decrease in downloads on the applications market. We do want to get there as quickly as possible. We're using, oh gosh, I should know this because I'm somewhat tech in this, but TensorFlow. No, that's
TensorFlow.
machine learning. That's machine
Yeah, that's
learning. But
machine learning.
we are gonna initiate TensorFlow into this system once we get it going on the app, just for the sake of helping with like auto budgeting, subscription management, and just reallocation of funds. You know, if there's $2 sitting around, what is the most ideal allocation based off their history? It'll reallocate that to the place it needs to. So that's something we're gonna use. But Angular is what we're building off of, which is going to be web-based, and it's web-based heavy, as I think you know, and it's really convertible into a mobile app. And we wanted to focus on the web-based first, just because of the lack of growth in the applications market.
So the applications, you said that there's a drop in downloads in the applications market.
Yeah.
Really? So
I don't have the stats specifically, but my co-founder does, and we were talking about it. And I want to say it was anywhere from people are downloading 20 to 30% less apps per year than they did 5 years ago.
wow. Okay.
And part of it's just that look at your phone right now. How many pages are you going to scroll?
It's like
I
two.
mean,
I have two.
you have two, and are they all foldered now?
There's a lot of folders. And there's not
Yeah.
much adding of apps. Like I use the same apps like YouTube, Google Maps, whatever, Chase Bank. It's just
Right. So when someone says download my app, your first thought is, well, I have a ton of apps already. I'll check it out.
yeah,
Like,
like
but
what do I need?
right. Yeah. So we see that as a declining market, not something that's going away anytime soon. It's extremely useful. I still use my phone for trading, for everything finance, for Bitcoin, for Coinbase, all that stuff. So for sports gambling,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I do all three of those things on my phone. So it's not like that's gone, but we believe that if we take this web-based first, we can really develop the plans we want to. And if we want to grow organically like we are, where we only have 3 clients right now, and our goal is to build up clients before we build out this amazing technology, then that makes a lot more sense for us because that's a lot more doable
Yeah,
at this point in
definitely.
time.
Yes, and just keeping that and building up a client base.
That's
Absolutely.
right. That's
So
right.
you work with another person, you founded it with someone else, or it's
Yeah, so it actually started as a school project. It was a competition. We went to a financial technology conference and we presented it. Kansas State dropped out, and our school's really good about going to these because we're really focused on personal financial planning, and not a lot of schools have that focus. And so they dropped out 2 weeks before the competition. My professor came up to me and said, "Hey, can you get something together in time for the competition? We'd love to have another team." I said, "Absolutely, let's do it." And so me and my now co-founder, Sam Jones, just went into the fishbowl, as we call it. It's just this glass-covered room, and we just started writing up with one of our coders what we were going to do. And we came up with this idea that, we need to budget, but the budgeting isn't what draws people in. Everyone can make a budgeting app, and everyone is making a budgeting app. It needs to be more than that, and it needs to have a personal touch. And that's where we decided that financial coaching and budgeting mixed with this marketplace was going to kind of give you the full spectrum of your financial life. You're going to start out in a lot of debt. You're going to end up with little debt. You're going to save enough money. Then you're going to be ready to invest. And then you're going to have an advisor. And we want to take people across that whole journey.
I think the personal touch is very important because it's like people don't want just a computer screen or just numbers. They they feel more comfortable if someone's there confirming what they're doing, or saying this might not be the best way, and just at least warning them. They
Yeah,
feel more secure than just going at it blind with no person, literally no personal touch, no.
that's right.
you know
That was our biggest point when we thought of that. We were like, you know what? The personalization, I don't care who builds the coolest budgeting app. The personalization that we can provide people is nothing that any SaaS technology can do for anyone. It's
no.
just not going to happen. They build it so it's not that. And we say that's the wrong way of doing it. If you want people to be in it for the long run, you have to keep an accountable personal touch to it, a human interaction that's there for you, not just a screen that you log into and, oh, I did good, whatever. They don't care anyway. Someone that's there for you, ready to hold you accountable if you want to be held accountable, but there to just game plan and help you get through whatever the life struggle is that's extremely unique to everybody. And nobody has the same situation. So it doesn't make sense to float people into, 5 different ideas. It needs to be much more individualized than that.
That's very true. And it helps, like, I mean, getting people on that train might be difficult because they're just like, I don't know if I need it, I'm budgeting,
Yeah.
whatever, I have debt, whatever, I'll just let it sit there. But it's having someone there, keeping, like, saying, dude, I mean, you spent $500 more than you said you would this week. Like, what's going on here? Then it's like next week, you have to report to whatever his name is and just say, do I really want to report to him that I spent another $500? Like, no, I don't.
That's right. And we don't want it to be like a condescending thing. Oh, you can't spend your money. You have to just hoard it all the time. No, it doesn't mean to be like that. But we do want someone there to be accountable, because I think that what these apps love is that they charge $3 and there's no accountability, and you do whatever you want to do. But if not, we're collecting our $3 fee anyway.
Yes, that's exactly what they do.
And it good for them. You know what I mean? Like, phenomenal. Intuit Mint, like, what a great product. And they kill the budgeting app. Their budgeting app is not, like, nobody is better than their budgeting app. And so I applaud them for what they're doing. And Clarity Money, same type of thing. And some of these subscription managements, they're all on the right idea, but they're missing one approach. And the irony of it is the banks don't see it. They see the human approach, and these guys see the tech approach. But nobody's really thinking the morph of the two and what it can do for people.
That is very, very big. So, something that I actually have, as someone who wants to create my own company one day, how do you feel about just how do you overcome the fact that there are some giants? Just like a couple, like for you, it might be, the big banks, and then also, Mint. For me, it
Yeah.
might be Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, and just these other DoD companies or whatever. These
Yeah.
big. It's like, for how. What do you think is the best way for, like, our generation to go forward, thinking about, like, these kind of giants that seem to hold the reins, but we really want to be independent as much as possible.
Right. It's a tough dilemma, and we have a mentor who he's a senior software engineer at Google, and he actually he was the lead design and software engineering behind what was called Invest Tools that sold for $1 billion to TD Ameritrade. And he was one of the big programmers behind it. And he said, we talked to him, a month and a half ago. We were talking about things and kind of how things were going. And he said, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, you are going up against, like, giants and, like, the unbeatable industries that have stood the test of time for hundreds of years. And we own that. We own that because we believe they have a place if they want to create a more ethical environment for consumers. But until that point comes, I don't think that they belong here acting as they do act for clients and for customers and for the retail public as a whole. And that's really where we want to kind of differentiate ourselves as the fiduciary and the the objective source of information. We never want to have anyone advertise with us unless it's the most suitable product for a client. Unless it fits everything that our data says that they might need, there will never be an ad from something they don't need. And that's what we really want to pride ourselves on, and something we're going to be very stingy about and very strict about, along with our privacy.
Maintaining that sort of discipline, I think, is very important, at least my personal opinion, for its, CEO, person with an ideal, saying that we're going to hold these values XYZ and make sure, maybe these other values aren't so important to us, but X, Y, and Z, we're going to keep that going forward. And that's really good mentality. And so, as far as these giants things, sometimes with giants, like, they go 100 to 0 really quick. I mean, like, sometimes a new technology or a new, like, just feature, app, whatever, hits the market, and then just what everyone was using yesterday just falters really quick. And
Absolutely.
it's really, really crazy how that works. And yeah.
Here's a great example of that. 2007, 2008, the financial crisis, or the beginning of it. Do you remember Washington Mutual
Yes.
Bank? They
Yes.
had their pillars, and then all of a sudden Chase had pillars, and then they knocked them down, and they're just Chases everywhere. Chase inherited Washington Mutual because the government said they were going to inherit Washington Mutual. It's actually a really interesting story that we should get into another time. But that's a great example of a company who their stock was trading at $40 a share. Their market cap was, $12 billion. I mean, we're talking about a $12 billion company. And by 2008, they had not enough assets that Chase bought them out for pennies on the dollar. And so, in that same sense, you have a company like that just completely disappearing, but you have someone like, I don't know if you've heard of them, Ally Bank.
I know. Who are they?
Ally Bank is kind of this up and coming, they're really digital centric focused to how they want to do and handle banking. But they have extremely good customer service, which is vital. If you're going to be a really software oriented company, you need to be able to fix your software in a timely manner, or you're going to alienate all of your customers. And so they're actually based out of Utah, ironically, or they were based out of Utah. They were founded out here. I think they're in like Chicago now. But in 2008 and 2009, their CEO said, wow, look what's going on around us. Let's do something like that, but better. And I mean, we're talking about opening a bank in the midst of the worst time we've seen in the last 100 years financially. And Ally Bank has grown from then to, I mean, I can pull it up right now. Their market cap is, I believe, anywhere from 20 to 40 billion dollars in the span of 10 years, essentially. And so for them, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. For them.
Oh, just yeah. I mean, they're a 12.8 billion dollar company, and that happened within the last 10 years. And you look at Washington Mutual, they were probably double that, and they couldn't make it. And it comes down to that innovation, that approach, and taking things the right way. And Ally Bank does things the right way.
So they're more tech. So in what sense do they do things the right way? They're more technologically.
Yeah. It's the human aspect. They're technologically superior to a lot of the banks, and their customer service is bar none.
Okay, so they'll respond to you. They'll say, "Do you use them? Do you use Allied Bank?"
I just opened an Ally Bank account. I'm leaving Chase to go to them right now.
Really? Wow. So what makes them better than Chase?
Chase has spent 3 weeks putting me through the ringer. 5 different representatives telling me that they're sending out my debit card tomorrow. My card got hacked, so I said, "Oh, I need to cancel it, get a new card." 2.5 weeks ago, okay, that'll be there in 3 to 5 business days. Okay, sounds good. 3 to 5 business days later, still no card. I waited another business day, still no card. So I go into the branch and I say, "Hey, still didn't get my card. Can you guys expedite me a card?" Yeah, we'll expedite you a card. 2 days later, when it was supposed to come, not there. So I call them again. I say, "Hey, expedite another card. I didn't get that one. Expedite another one. Here we are on Friday. It's supposed to come yesterday. No card." So it's not so much about not getting the card as it is the way that the customer service went about it. No one took ownership. Nobody wanted to handle my problem. The goal was to pass me off to the next person. And that is not customer service, and that is not a personal touch of care. And that's where people like Ally and where like we hope to be, where we do care. And we really do care. Like we know that the only way that our generation is going to really succeed is if we can implement ideas like this and spread ideologies like this to as many people as possible, because that is going to project us when we are able to take positions of power. It's going to put this country and this world in a much better place if we all are kind of on the same page with that ideology and that ethical boundary.
Dude, everyone having some sort of financial competency affects everyone else in the country. I mean,
Absolutely.
if everyone is in debt, if all the student people, if a lot of people in the 30s, 40s, 20s are in debt, that affects everyone. That affects people who want consumers. That affects the extremely rich, like Amazon. They want people to have money. They want these people to not be in so much debt to keep on, funneling money in. So, I mean, we're
Right.
all affected by, and if people are financially literate throughout their entire lifetime, it will help just like the entire economy so much.
Absolutely. And on a couple of notes, the first thing I'll say is Elisa Miguel is now offering a financial statistics class that Luke will be taking next semester. So
Wow,
that is,
Luke is still in school. That's good. I'm glad he isn't in college yet, dude. That would be a little depressing if he was in
he's a
college.
junior, man, so he's
Oh
getting there.
man, he's getting there. Jesus, we're getting there.
He's going into his third year of varsity hockey right now.
Aliso has hockey. Holy.
So at least it's Capo USD, and they've been state champions the last 3 years. They've beat the national champion. Santa Margarita won the national championship last year. They beat all of the teams in Minnesota by like 6 or 7. And Luke's team beat Capo USD beat Santa Margarita twice this year.
Orange County has the best hockey in the nation. You gotta be
Orange County had 2 first-round draft picks this past year in the NHL draft,
straight out of high school, or did they go
straight
to
out of high
college first
school.
school?
Straight
No
out of high school.
way.
Yeah,
Holy. Is anyone from
yeah.
Aliso from Aliso or Kappa
No,
USD?
Liso. They all played. Two of them, the two guys that got drafted, played for Junior Ducks.
That's and that's a club team.
That's the club team that's just in Anaheim.
Okay. All right. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. And if
Wow.
you haven't heard about it yet, Great Park in I don't even know what city that's in, like Irvine-ish. You know what I'm talking about?
Is no.
The orange blimp and all those fields out there.
Yeah, no, I don't think I know. I probably do, but I can't think of it.
Okay. So the Ducks put in like $120 million and they built a 6 ice rink arena
Oh, I've
for
seen
the
it.
sake of this. Oh, you've seen that?
It's just like on the side of the road for near the fire department. It's in Irvine.
Yeah,
Yes, I know
yeah,
where it is.
yeah. Like off Barranca or something.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So they built that, and the real reason was people were scouting kids from Orange County all the time. So like we need to build top of the line facilities to facilitate this up and coming group of super talented hockey players.
That's nuts. Holy
I
shit.
know.
And it's so
It's
warm.
it's so warm. You say you like hockey from Southern California, and like right now it's a joke, but 5, 10, 15 years down the road, people are like, oh yeah, they're a hot spot for good hockey players.
That's nuts. So what about, dude, do you know if football's dying out in the youth game or is it still
I've
going?
heard I've heard
Yes.
some things. I can't remember the last thing I heard, but I wanted to say that like anywhere from like 10 to 20% west in like Okjaf and Pop Warner in the last few years.
Okay. That's not that much, 10 to 20%.
I mean, but 15% of those guys could be studs for all we know. No,
Yeah.
you're right. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. But you know the game now. It's just completely different. It's changed so much.
It's changed so much. It's nothing like it was. Dude, when we were at the beginning, even at the end of high school, like it wasn't until we got to college that it really changed. Like
Yep. Because I
football,
mean, I was. Go ahead.
no, you go. Football was just
I
very strong still in American culture when we graduated. Huge.
Yeah. And like the Veter mindset, which is kind of the last generation football mindset, was still very prevalent.
Super
And
prevalent.
it was just barely changing once we had Drew into that spread offense. That was really innovative, you know?
Yeah, and then oh man, that was the best year easily. This our
That
senior
was
year.
so much fun.
Oh
The
man.
blind side right here, man. No
The
stacks given up. My man.
oh man, dude. After that was a fun year for sure.
That was a
And
great year.
you and Drew over 1,000 yards, I think.
Drew had 1,360 yards. He
Wow,
led the county in receiving.
that's nuts.
I know. If only I had another Drew Diamond out there.
Or an A Richardson, dude.
Oh, what? A. Richardson, 3 career plays, 1 catch, 68 yards. Come on.
Come on, dude. Just play more than three.
Just play more than 3. It's okay, dude. It's not for everyone, you know. It
No,
really is the mindset, and if you don't have it, you don't have it.
dude, it's
Took
a
me a while
nuts
to
game.
realize that.
Dude, yeah, I mean, we kind of just like not everyone can do that. Like it's pretty
No,
nuts. And
it
like
is, dude.
some
The mixture of physical exhaustion, mental, like, you not only do you have to know the play, but like you have to adjust in real time and mix that with everything else you're doing, like the physical contact. It is one of a kind in that sense.
one of a kind, and you were playing quarterback, dude. That is a whole nother game. Like the position of quarterback is just like very obviously just like the craziest. It's very you have so much control. You get the ball every single play. Like it has to
Yeah,
funnel through your hands, and it's like usually like either you make it or break it if the line doesn't. If the line makes it, then it's you make it or break it at that point. So
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
crazy.
It
Like
is.
that position.
It's the
How
most
go?
it's the most smooth. You've got to all be in sync sport by far. I mean, if you're not all in sync, you see what happens. It just does not pan out like it should. Anyway,
No.
go ahead. Sorry. I don't know if we're trying to get out. I got off topic there. I apologize.
No, I don't know. Do you have anything you want to say? Any topic that you want to bring up?
Um, Not that I can think of right now, dude. I think we talked about some good stuff. I do want to ask you just vaguely, what is you said you wanted to kind of start a company. Is that what's secret right now? Or is that like, are you doing that independently and that's what's kind of under wraps?
No, that is no. My actual job with the DoD is secret, the details of that. But this
Right, fair
isn't
enough.
necessarily a secret or anything. It's just like one day, probably be a contractor of some sorts because that's the business I'm in here. But I don't know what else I would do. I'm not going to probably develop, well, I don't know who my customer base would be. So right now, one day I do know I want to eventually have the DoD as my customer, especially if they're funneling out as much money as they are. So I do want,
That's not changing anytime soon
yeah,
either.
that's not changing anytime soon. So eventually I do want like some sort of service or product company to them. But
Yeah,
just keeping that in mind, and like there are giants in that field as well. I mean, the people
right.
who like develop the drones and do services on the ships and just like all of this stuff to create the planes. I mean, Boeing creates the planes.
Lockheed and Northrop. I mean,
Oh my God.
those are in like military institutions essentially. They've been here for decades, hundreds of years.
Decades, not going anywhere. They have the like designs, like Lockheed and Northrop. They like created the first carriers, and they still have a huge part to play. So it's like, but at the same time, like you said, like the financial advisors, the average age firm is 58. On my team, like for my personal team, I'm 25, gonna get 26. The next youngest guy is 39, and then after that, it goes to like just the average age is the same. It's like it's pretty crazy. Like that's the entire workforce. I feel like a majority of the workforce is looking to retire within the next 10 to 15 years. And it's that
It's
whole
true.
baby boomer generation. It's like what's going to happen in the next it's going to be crazy. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be crazy. Whole I don't even know.
No, it's true. I agree. It's going to create some really unprecedented situations like we've already been dealing with. I'll get into that in a second, but I think that it's going to be weird. And what's going to be weirder is, will those people even retire on time? I don't think a lot of them will.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I feel like even now, like they're not honestly, I feel like there's a lot of people like in their late 50s, early 60s that are actually not in a competent enough position to be in the jobs that they're in right now and making the salaries that they're in and not providing enough output for what they're receiving.
Value add.
Oh man, and I feel like a lot of young people could get in there and just add a
Yeah,
lot more value. I mean, I know there needs to be a little bit of combination, but
right.
right
No, yeah,
now,
no ageism. Come on.
yeah, no
But it's
age.
not about ageism. It's about merit.
It is about merit, and it's like there's a certain level of merit. Like software, we have to come to the realization that software competency is a huge merit. And we also have to come to the realization that if you're over the age of 40, your software competency, and that's like general, that doesn't matter. That could be coding, that could be using Google, that could be just using a basic software and then learning to use a different one in 2 days or 3 days or 15 days. It's like if you're over 40, you probably just don't have enough software competency to do the tasks and job requirements that are required from now on.
Yeah,
And it's
right.
pretty nuts.
It's a matter of time. They just don't have the time to do it, to ever catch up, right?
They don't have the time. They don't have like it's yes, they don't have the time, but they need the money because still like there's a lot of loans. Like people have
Their
these
whole life is centered around that paycheck, and people live like, here's
a
my
single
salary.
paycheck.
Yeah, yeah. Paycheck to paycheck, 52% of the country.
That's nuts, and they're in so much debt, whether that be
Yeah.
student debt, house debt, a combination of both, vehicle debt. Oh man.
So I kind of bounced around a lot, but I lost my train of thought. Yeah, the debt situation is just absolutely out of control. Oh, 70% of Americans couldn't come up with $1,000 without taking out debt or a loan right now. 70%.
That's crazy.
So we made it our mission when we presented at that conference, kind of looping everything back full circle. We presented the idea that our goal is like, we could be non for profit, we could be an extremely profitable company, we could get bought out by someone, I don't care. But if we can lower that limit to 40, 30%, then like our impact is noticeable, and it's exactly all we want to do. Because me and my co-founder, like, you know me, and you know I'm a roller coaster at times, but I've smoothed out a lot. And my real goal in life isn't like, I want to make money. Everyone wants to make money and live a comfortable life, but my real goal is to make impact, social impact, economic impact. And the way I see it happening like that is through something like this, because you can start helping people one at a time, growing a network of different counselors and coaches, and just really getting people in a place that they never thought they could be in. And it really comes down to discipline, accountability, and a willingness to learn. And that's the other thing we want to do, is we don't want to just tell people what to do. We want them to learn and understand what they're doing and why.
Yes, they need to learn and then they need to apply those lessons to their daily habits and to their use expenditures and oh man, that's
Absolutely.
and of course you want to make money. I mean, who doesn't want to make money and live a very comfortable life? I mean, people, sometimes shame that, but there's no reason to shame that. I mean, you
Right.
doing this and you being successful at this in turn requires a lot of other people becoming successful and doing very smart things. And so, like, that compounds. Like, if they have debt, then that somehow compounds to you. But if they're if they're saving their money, if they're spending it wisely and investing it wisely, then and if you can help them do that, then everyone wins in that situation.
And
Everyone
that's the
wins.
goal. Absolutely. And the fact that like I'm getting charged an extra dollar for hot sauce from Cafe Rio is not how everyone wins. And I'm not saying rip off your own company, but what I'm saying is that we're all on the same team. You know what I mean? And so to think it's
Yes.
anything but that is just misconstrued mindset because we're all in this together to try. We're all kind of fighting the same struggles. We're all really close and borderline. Like if things were to go down, like we would all be in very deep shit. And so this is a team effort. It's not me. It's not you. It's not the next millionaire 21-year-old or whatever. It's the combination of us all, like with a similar ideology, like deciding to make change.
Yes, deciding to make change ourselves. We start the change and it compounds from there.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So tell me more about your idea. I'm curious. So you kind of just said you want to have the DoD as a customer. Um,
I don't have an
yeah, like tell
idea.
me more about it.
I have no idea yet. It's just like I have several different ideas, but no product, no service yet out there. Um, just learning and definitely one day at least sell my services. Like that
Yeah,
is, I don't want to, because that's what I'm doing right now. Like I'm creating some software stuff, and it's like at the end of the day, I'm selling my services. So at least that I feel like I can make my own company, sell my
yeah.
services.
Roll
So
into a consultancy type position.
exactly. And then maybe win some contracts from there, like just have a own a lot of trust because at the same time, like I'm in a I feel like I'm in a good position because I am surrounded by a lot of older individuals. So there's like that aren't thinking like that long term. They're not ready to hunker
Right.
down for the next 20 years and just be like, okay, let's see what's going down. But like just keep consultancy, possibly win some contracts after that, and then with those contracts be able to afford things like employing other people and from there on. But it would have to come from first gaining the trust, because I don't it would like as far as developing a product, like like what would I develop? Like it would have to be probably software, and I don't know, I don't have an idea of what they need at that you know so I think consultancy service,
Facial recognition, man.
facial recognition. I think Apple
No,
has that.
spatial recognition.
Spatial, what's that?
Spatial, identifying the physical world around you digitally.
Oh my god, dude. If you knew, oh, jeez. I've literally, oh, yes. That, if I could develop, oh, that takes tense, that takes a lot of data. I don't know, but that is exactly what we need. You're right. If we had one of
Yeah.
those, my job would be solved, dude. That's exactly, dude. I wish I could explain, but that's huge. What
Yeah.
would you use that for?
I have so many uses, but my number one thing is if I do this and I make the impact I make, I want to leave one day and like I want to pass it off to someone who has the same ideologies and philosophies, and I'll still be on the board and stuff. Like this is like very like long term like dream type stuff. But I really love, I think that there is a world and a lot of use for augmented and mixed reality, and I'd want to use it for that. And I think that the future involves Kanye West type houses where everything's blank, but if you have your AR or your mixed reality, then your reality is what you're seeing. And that's, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we're moving in a similar direction anyway. We sit on our phone most of the time anyway, so it's not unfathomable to think, hey, let's just have all white walls. The decorations that you see are not the same decorations my mom and dad see.
Yeah, no, personalized, customized decorations. Kanye West has that in his house.
He has like an all white house. And I'm like, if I had my technology that I really want to do in the long run with that, in addition to like a lot of other things with AR, then he would have whatever he wanted someone to see in his home. And whatever color it was, whatever painting it was, you could have the Mona Lisa hanging in my apartment right now. You see what
Yes.
I'm saying? And it would
Yeah.
look like the Mona Lisa's hanging in my apartment. And yeah, you can't touch it, but when you walk in, aesthetically, it's all there. Everything you could ever imagine.
If you want to be in a tropical rainforest, you can have that the next second right there.
Exactly, exactly. So the biggest space, the biggest player in that space right now is called Magic Leap. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No. Do they create goggles or what do they do?
Yeah, they're building hardware, but they're outsourcing all of their software development and their application development to just people who are willing to submit.
Really? So they just
You should,
create. Wow.
yeah, you should look into them. They're really interesting. Are you going? Oh,
Yo, Andrew, do you want to end this?
yeah. Let's wrap it up. I'm getting my girlfriend's saying it's getting late and we have people coming over in a little bit. So,
No worries. This was a great conversation. I had a great time.
Kourosh, I had a great time too, and I'm sorry if I dominated it, but I
No,
definitely want to hear more about as much as I can hear about what you're doing.
dude, one day, dude, this isn't going to be the last one. I don't think this is going to be, this won't be the last one. This was a great
Okay,
time.
good. Sounds good. Kourosh, it was good talking to you. I know it's been a while. Let's stay in closer contact going forward because I
We
know
should,
we see the world in a way that not everyone sees it and that we both understand.
we do see it in that way. And I'm really, yeah, we should keep in contact more over the next years. I agree.
All right. Sounds
All
good,
right.
man.
Later,
Well, good
Andrew.
chatting with you. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. You're a great guy for doing this. I love the effort and I love what you're doing. I can't wait to hear this and all the other ones you do going forward, and Michael's as well. So,
Yes. Thank you, Andrew.
of course. Well, have a
All
good
right.
rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Later, man.
Later.